Celebrities get a lot of stick a lot of the time. When people like Mr. Beckham do something like this, actually, when you realise the pressures that they're under and, frankly, how difficult it must be, praise where praise is due, I would say.
Yeah, I agree, Stephen. This is a man who probably hasn't queued for anything for most of his adult life. I've seen him in Glastonbury a couple of times. He just sails past every queue to the front of every VIP bar. But here he was queuing for many hours, got there at 2 a.m, wasn't noticed for several hours. But then when he was noticed, I imagine it was really stressful. First of all, people were joking that he looked like a Peaky Blinder. And second of all, they were asking him for selfies so often that it actually delayed the queue a bit, which must have been a lot of pressure on him. And of course, he wants to be a nice, friendly face and offer those selfies out. But imagine doing selfies for the next 6 hours. Credit where credit's due, as you say. Good on him.
Obviously about the fact that there certain well-known people also sort of use their celebrity status or whatever to slide in at the sidelines. But you certainly couldn't begrudge some world leaders who are arriving. For instance, Jacinda Ardern?
Yes.
Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand, who obviously has only just got into the country. She wanted to be there and she must have just been slipped in.
Yes, so this queue has its own government department, amazingly, DCMS, and they arrange a select number of passes that you go in through the House of Lords and then you come out through a side entrance, but you don't actually file all the way past the coffin if you do that. So I think she came out through the side, filed down through the end of the coffin. So if it makes you feel any better, she didn't have exactly the same experience as the people that queued for a long time. I think Holly and Phil had the same situation. But I can't blame her either. She's just flown all the way from New Zealand. She's she's got to be seriously on parade on Monday, so she had to sort of get it done.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Holly and Phil. I mean, I know they used the excuse that they were filming something for this morning, but actually it's gone down very, very badly.
Lead balloon time, yes.
And quite rightly so, I would say.
Well, I suppose so. I mean, Susanna Reid is also on television, also involved in the media, and she didn't use her access to that pass. She queued like a normal person. So I suppose we can give them a bit of a hard time. But I have to say, I did stand at the same press box at the end. They had to stand in a press box as well. They weren't actually allowed to go past the coffin. So maybe they use their celebrity status. Maybe they use their status as kind of high-profile people in the media. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say, Susanna Reid, you're queued like ordinary people. Well, we are. It doesn't matter if you're on television or not. We are all ordinary people.
Yeah, she was with her mum as well. And I think that's what's amazing. I mean, David Beckham, it was almost sad to see him on his own. He said he was there on behalf of the rest of the family. As a family, it would have been impossible for them. I can't even believe he did it.
Can you imagine Victoria Beckham's stilettos after 13 hours?
Wow.
He couldn't have done it.
I mean, exactly. We've all been told that we've all been warned to wear very sensible shoes. But a lot of people are doing these things with other members of other generations within their own family, aren't they? You see that time and again. Very young, accompanied by very old.
Yes, when I was there, I saw that there were sort of basically grannies with their grandchildren. And David Beckham said that his love of the royal family actually came from his grandparents. And it's really nice and touching to see, because it is that older generation that have known the Queen for most of her 70-year reign that really passes on that love and that sort of love of tradition to their grandchildren. I think it's actually a really nice thing to see. I noticed that a lot of the grandchildren were less emotional than the older people, but were supporting their grandparents. And it's lovely.
Obviously, the millions that are queuing past is one thing, but the vast majority of people in the UK are not going to get down to London, perhaps even not want to get to London, which I certainly can't blame them for. But what are we going to see across the country on Monday for places where people can gather to watch the events?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. My local pub owner was debating with me whether or not to open the pub on Monday and put up a screen, and he decided not to because he thought it was perhaps not very respectful. But actually, people need a place to gather, don't they, to watch it? Because I think there's a real sense that people want to watch this together. So I think people are going to go to local community halls and find screens in their local area. And then just anecdotally, I heard that there were surge hotel prices all the way up in Bradford. And so people are really gathering all over the country. They're not just sort of packing down to London. And that's possibly because London's at 90% capacity, apparently. So the prices are just extortionate. So I think people are going to create pockets of communities around the country where they can gather together and watch it on a screen.